Writers, did we really need an entire episode of Magneto being half naked? Prime Sentinel body horror is one thing, but half an hour plus of Magneto's dirty old man ass when I didn't even want to see him fully clothed, or at all, that's really pushing it. I'll just hit the intro. Welcome back, everyone. We're counting down to the end of Season 1 of X-Men 97. Crazy how fast it's gone by. And this week was part 1 of the 3-part finale, a story the showrunner said Episode 5 was just a warm-up for. Good God. Now, maybe they're saving the really big stuff for parts 2 and 3, but I didn't get that impression from this episode. This one was a lot of sizzle, but I was missing the steak. It delivered on the big moments, the cool cameos, the action set pieces, but I thought the writing was on the weaker side. There were some pretty big plot contrivances, things that didn't really make sense, storytelling choices that felt awkward, like they're trying to avoid addressing certain things after they'd introduced them as a supposed big deal. Like Cable. He comes in to save the X-Men's asses last week, and they set it up like he's gonna be the game changer that turns this whole thing around, or at least gives the X-Men a fighting chance. But then this week, he's mainly there to just give exposition, and even that's not done particularly well. They continue to eliminate potential theories about how this is going to be resolved, but they don't do a great job of that either. It's more like a real quick, we can't do that because reasons, and then they just move on without explaining why because the plot says so. And then the Prime Sentinel threat, which they established as an absolute nightmare scenario last week, is seemingly finished off with one of the biggest Deus Ex Machinas you're likely to see this year. Magneto just puts out a big EM pulse that disables every Prime Sentinel on the planet? It's seriously that easy? And that crashes every other electronic device on Earth, apparently, which I don't know if the writers have considered the implications of. How is that gonna work? Could you explain more, please? No? So we're just moving on then? I don't know, you guys. I'm having some trouble with this. Yeah, I was struggling with a bunch of things in this episode, like Cable, he was a big one. How he wound up in a different future from Bishop is completely glossed over. They got separated in the time stream. Moving on. And that's it. That's all we get. They don't actually show us anything. Are you kidding me? Unless they're saving that for some kind of big reveal later, like Apocalypse intervened or something, then why are you skipping over this? That was one of the major plot points that you set up early on in the season. Yeah, the Summers is trying to work out their dysfunctional family shit is fine, I guess, but there are some bigger fish that we needed to get out of the way first, and I can't figure out why that didn't happen. Instead, Cable does some expositing about Bastion. He uses the techno-organic virus to evolve humans into Prime Sentinels who, in the future, kind of usurp mutants on the evolutionary ladder like mutants did to humans. Okay, whatever. It's good to know, but none of this is that surprising if you've read the comics. More interesting is that Cable tried to stop the attack on Genosha, many times in fact, but each time he got pulled back because somehow time was stopping him from preventing this fixed event. And they don't really elaborate any further. They don't try to explain this either, and frankly, it just comes off like a bullshit excuse. Like, if you have to pull nonsense like this out of your ass just to gloss over why you can't use time travel to fix a problem you introduced in your time travel story, then maybe just don't do time travel stories, because that reads like you just didn't think this shit through. So, like it or not, and I don't like it at all, this probably means no timeline reset, and the events in Genosha will stand as is, which is fucking brutal and creatively a huge waste in my opinion, considering all the characters who died there. I don't agree with this direction, I think it's a mistake, but we'll have to wait and see where it goes. Somebody at the UN, guess who, has leaked that Shi'ar email blast of Xavier being alive, and the news is spinning it as the X-Men faking his death to garner support for mutants, and don't be surprised if they're framed for Gyric's murder too. It'd be really easy to pin that one on Rogue, unfortunately. There's already an angry mob forming outside the mansion, so I guess it wasn't such a good idea to go on the news and tell everybody where you live, you dumbasses. Just saying. The usual pundits you'd expect are all over this, William Stryker, etc. Meanwhile, Sunspot's mom is holding a benefit for the Genocian survivors, but it's pretty obviously all for show, and Jubilee isn't having it, so her and Sunspot bug out to go shopping. I still don't care about this story at all. What I really care about right now is what's going on with Rogue, and she's in a coma for the entire episode. And that's fucking weird. She took a big hit from Trask, but if it was just blunt force, then she should have shrugged that off. So this has gotta be about what she absorbed from Gyric's mind. The images of Bastion and Nimrod. I expect she'll wake up with some kind of intel they can use, but not this week, and that sucks. Also, for the record, no new teases or even mentions of Gambit this week, and that sucks even more. Anyway, Jean's trying to help Rogue telepathically, so the problem's definitely up here, and she's also trying to make peace with having Madeline's memories of her son despite not being his mother. Kurt helps her out with this, relating his experiences with Mystique and Rogue. Blood is blood, family is a choice. I love what they're doing with Nightcrawler right now. He's such a great, lovable, compassionate dude. He's fitting right in with these characters in every way that Sunspot isn't. He's not a replacement for Gambit. I'm not gonna tune in week to week for Nightcrawler, but I like him a lot, and I really hope he sticks around after this story is over. We check in with Sinister, where we find Magneto shackled up wearing nothing but a Speedo. Gross. I don't want to. Also, Val Cooper is there as Bastion's guest, which kind of pokes a hole in the Mystique in disguise theory, and Sinister says he's using Bastion just like Bastion is using him. We don't know how exactly, but it has something to do with acquiring pig pens of mutant test subjects. But that's really strange, because if that's what this was about, then why destroy Genosha, which was full of S-tier genetic stock that just went to waste? Isn't that completely counter to what Sinister would want? I don't know what I'm missing here, but something about this Sinister-Bastion alliance is still not adding up. Cable has some info on where they might find Bastion, so him, Scott, and Jean check that out, and they wind up at Bastion's childhood home where they get backstory on him. It's clumsy though, because they learn this by Jean using psychometry, which is not one of her powers. Jean's a telepath, and that's a different thing. But the story is, Bastion's father was infected with some kind of Nimrod future tech, though they don't tell us where it came from or how it got there, which he impregnated his wife with, making Bastion a twisted human Nimrod master mold hybrid abomination. There's nothing necessarily wrong with this, but it's really truncated. I don't like getting all this info in one big plot dump when we're almost at the end of the season and Bastion himself just showed up a cup of coffee ago. If they could have imparted this to us a little bit at a time over the course of the whole season, I think that would have worked a lot better. This just seemed very rushed. There's more exposition about how Bastion orchestrated all the Genosha stuff, and get this, he's even in contact with Dr. Doom, Baron Zemo, and a woman who I think was Madam Hydra about all this. And the cameos were super cool, but unfortunately for Bastion, he's made the crucial mistake so many villains make of not having seen The Incredibles, because he then goes on a lengthy monologue explaining his evil plan to Val Cooper, showing her exactly how the Prime Sentinels are made and how they get activated. Great idea, dude! I'm sure that won't backfire on you.
Not a great plan.
I'm sorry, I know Bastion's arrogant and everything, but this was just fucking dumb. That's like the biggest classic stupid villain mistake there is, and everything we know about Bastion told us that he was way more savvy than this. Even if he trusts Val Cooper for whatever reason, why the hell would you tell anyone what you're doing if it's this up? And then, just like that, as if on cue, everything goes to shit. More so. Bastion's sweet old lady mom, Sunspot's butler, and Trish Tilby, who'd come by to make peace with Hank, all turn into Prime Sentinels, along with a shit ton of other people, and we get a huge action sequence across these 3 different storylines, with Prime Sentinels coming out of the woodwork and everything descending into complete chaos. And action-wise, this scene is tremendous, especially the Wolverine Nightcrawler sequence. But it's really bizarre because suddenly the Prime Sentinels seem a lot less powerful. In episode 7, just Trask by himself was more than the entire team could handle, and according to Bastion, Trask was just a rough draft version to gather tactical data. Now they've got that data, they've seemingly refined their tech, they're overwhelming the X-Men with an army of Prime Sentinels, but somehow the X-Men are putting up a much better fight this time. Hell, even Jubilee and Sunspot managed to evade the Sentinels for a while. What? Seriously, what is happening right now? Just last week, the Prime Sentinels were in God mode, and now they've all been nerfed up the ass. They're still tough, yeah, but the X-Men are holding their own against many Prime Sentinels at once all of a sudden, and it doesn't track. The action here is f***ing great, but the writing just doesn't support it. There are some interesting bits, though. The Prime Sentinels don't try to kill the comatose Rogue. They seem to find something interesting about her. That gets interrupted when Wolverine and Kurt show up to protect her in a f***ing great sequence. Sunspot actually makes himself less useless than usual, saving Jubilee by showing that he can fly now. I didn't like that, to be honest. It seems like they're just giving him new powers whenever the story needs it. Those powers are all from the comics, yeah, but it's happening so quickly here, it comes off like whatever the plot needs him to do, he can just do. Like it's done for convenience more than anything else. And the stuff with Scott, Jean, and Cable is cool, I guess, but they've got an entire fleet of Prime Sentinels chasing them. The Blackbird gets shot out of the sky, then they're chasing them down in a Porsche. They're flying through the air, blasting their way through a f***ing mountain while shooting down Sentinels left and right and using it as a Summers family bonding experience. They look badass, but their plot armor is cranked up so f***ing high here, even Jon Snow would be impressed. At a certain point, it just starts to feel try-hard and it kind of loses me. Trask nearly wiped out the entire team all by himself last week. Why is it so easy for them to fight these things now? Sunspot and Jubilee evade the Sentinels until they reach his mom's benefit, at which point the Sentinels pretend to play nice, so Birdo's mom is like, "Oh, just go with the nice robot killing machine, son. I'm sure it'll be fine. Besides, we've got a party to throw here. Cocktails, anyone?" So they get captured. Not that it matters much after what happens next. Val Cooper frees Magneto. And I'm sorry, but I facepalmed at this. Really, really hard. Are you f***ing kidding me? Bastion, Sinister, dudes. If Val freeing Magneto was even a remote possibility, why in the bluest of blue hells did you leave her alone with him? Especially after you showed her your evil plan, which she was clearly horrified by. And doesn't Bastion have knowledge of the future or some shit? Like, how did he not see this coming? Are they f***ing stupid? I thought Bastion was supposed to be the master manipulator here. Like, what the f***? This was so dumb. It's obvious the writers had written themselves into a corner, and the only way they could think of to get out of it was to make the supposedly brilliant bad guys look like fucking idiots just so Mags could whip a planet-sized Deus Ex Machina out of his gross, uncomfortably tiny Speedo. Damn it, writers, why would you even put that image in my head?
Who wants chowder?
And so, because the writers have some kind of weird, sick hard-on for Magneto, and I couldn't tell you why, he sends out a giant EMP that disables every Prime Sentinel on Earth, makes it easy, and that finally puts an end to all this. I've seen a lot of people on social media buzzing, squealing, cheering, raving about this moment and how amazing it was. For the life of me, I don't know why. How do you miss the point this badly? Do they not understand what actually happened here? Watch the scene again. Yeah, the EMP takes out all the Sentinels. It also fries every other electronic device within range, and its range is the entire planet. They showed us this. All the lights go out everywhere. Do you know what that means? This has horrifying implications, which for some reason went over a lot of people's heads. Also, it makes you wonder if Mags had that kind of power, why he never used it, A, during the attack on Genosha, or B, back when he was a human-hating terrorist and would have totally gotten off on something like this. And here's the really important part. Do you know what a planet-wide EMP is going to do? Anyone who happened to be in a plane in the air at the time, they're dead. Anyone who was, like, in a hospital being kept alive by life support, they're dead. Anyone in any kind of dangerous, hazardous situation that relies on machines for safety reasons, they're without lube. If you were in a car driving on the interstate when this happened, I hope you were buckled up because your odds of survival are pretty shit, and so on and so on. Sure, it stopped the Prime Sentinels, at least temporarily, but there is no conceivable way that millions upon millions of innocent people all over the f***ing world didn't die because of this and will die because of it in the future because Magneto just plunged the entire f***ing human race into the technological dark ages, which realistically will throw the whole world into chaos, cost countless lives, and take months, if not years, to recover from. Now, did he have a choice to do this or not? You can debate that all day long, but there's no getting around that what just happened here was absolutely horrific. Magneto was right, my asshole. Many, many more people than the ones who died in Genosha will die because of this. The old man just committed mass murder on a planetary scale. This was not a good thing that just happened. The show certainly doesn't frame it as a good thing. Wolverine spells it all out for us. Magneto just declared war on humanity. But hey, Magneto was right as a catchy hashtag, so f it. It's all good, right?
Bitch, please.
But the long and short of it is the entire Sentinel army is taken down just like that. Feels like kind of a cop-out after the last episode, but if you say so, writers. And Val Cooper is so mortified by what Bastion's done that she's now all aboard the Magneto was right train, which is a narrative I've seen pop up way too much this season. Sorry, not sorry. There is no goddamn way I'm gonna be on his side after the storyline with Rogue gave off such creepy, dirty old man predator groomer vibes. I don't care how many Deus Ex Machinas Magneto's packing, or how much the writers might not so subtly agree with his point of view, or inexplicably want to see him half naked for extended periods of time. Magneto. If you're on his side, then congratulations on completely missing the fucking point. And the episode ends with a spaceship crashing into the mansion, and it's Xavier ready to, with any luck, restore some sanity to this situation before anyone else joins the season-long Magneto wankfest. I hope I'm not too late. Yeah, you kind of are, Chuck. Sorry. This episode was all over the place. Visually, it was very cool. The cameos continue to be awesome. Rachel Summers, Polaris, Omega Red, Silver Samurai, Spider-Man. Holy shit. The action was damn good. It had one of the biggest action set pieces in the whole show outside of episode 5. I just couldn't get past a lot of things with the writing. You bring in Cable and then don't explain how he wound up where he wound up in the future. Writing off the timeline reset possibility felt completely half-assed and stupid. The Prime Sentinels went from God mode to putty patrol pretty much overnight. I still don't give one single shit about this Jubilee Sunspot thing. The story isn't interesting and they have no chemistry at all. The climax is resolved because the villains just acted like f***ing idiots when they were about to win, even though they're supposed to be brilliant tacticians. Magneto is used as an instant catch-all excuse to easily solve this unsolvable problem. Xavier's return happens just after the nick of time, so it really doesn't feel like the uplifting moment it should be. And the biggest offender in all of this, Mag Speedo. I could have lived the rest of my f***ing life without seeing that. And another thing, where the hell is Storm? She found out about Genosha 2 episodes ago, and it's been at least a few days or a week since then. Why hasn't she gotten in touch with the X-Men? She skipped the funeral. She hasn't called them. Hell, Xavier got to them before she did, and he was on the other side of the f***ing galaxy when he found out. Did Storm decide to walk back to the mansion from Texas? I mean, what the hell is going on here? Unless Bastion got to her off-screen in between episodes, I'm calling bullshit on this. This episode was hit and miss in my opinion. They did some pretty badass stuff on a technical level, but in terms of writing, I think it was one of the weaker installments of the season. I do like what it could be potentially setting up though. That massive EMP could have really huge story implications if the writers are smart and take advantage of it. Or it could be a giant load of bullshit if they decide to gloss it over like they've done with other stuff. Because with all technology all over the world on the fritz, at least in the short term, humanity is gonna be super vulnerable. And that would make it real easy for someone to come along and take advantage. So if the writers were thinking about introducing a big villain for season 2, someone like Apocalypse, who I still think could be the ultimate mastermind behind everything here, this would be the perfect way to do it. And it would also be a great way to introduce Horseman of Death Gambit, which has been a theory the showrunner has been consistently acknowledging on social media, but not shooting down, unlike the timeline reset theory. He seems pretty adamant that there's gonna be no time travel fix, but ask him about Deathbit and he gets very coy, like, hey, I'm not saying nothing, but stay tuned and keep watching, guys. Glowing kiss emoji. So it seems like we're heading in that direction, option. I don't know if it's my favorite option, but if it brings Gambit back, I'll take it. Now the table is set for the introduction of some kind of major new threat, which I hope the writers capitalize on, because how the hell do you botch a layup as easy as this? But who the hell knows what they're gonna do? To be continued on that for now. Not the best start to this three-parter, if I'm being honest. Maybe now that the Prime Sentinels have been dealt with and Xavier's back, things will improve in the last 2 episodes. I'm ready for the Magneto was right shit to f***ing end, so hopefully Xavier can knock some sense into everybody, which shouldn't be too hard since Magneto just straight up murdered a not insignificant portion of the human race. I mean, if you're still on Magneto's side after that, I don't know what to tell you. So there was some good setup here, but also a lot of problems. I'd like to think those problems are out of the way now, but there's no way to know for sure. A lot is gonna be riding on the next 2 episodes. They could either nail this, or it could become a gigantic mess. As if I wasn't anxious enough already. Stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching. While you're here, ding that bell icon and follow my social media so you can always be notified when I upload new stuff. The links are down there. And don't forget to do all the other YouTube things. Hit that thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more real soon. See you next time.